Hello and welcome back to the All the Pies YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Kev, that's Davy, and we're back again. This time we're going to have a bit of a preview of the Bournemouth game as Newcastle United travel nowhere. They travel to St James's Park and they're fucking back door. And they're going to play Bournemouth. So without further ado, let's get into it.
God, he scored so many goals.
Nice early slip there. Eh?
Aye,
Good
aye,
start, that one.
very good.
How you doing, Davey? All right?
I am. My head's battered. We've got a single release coming out in April, and we're trying to get the artwork done for it, and it's done. And then we realised we haven't got the artwork done for the actual CD cover, the actual CD itself, and the people that normally do it are at work. So I'm like, and I haven't got a clue, and it's like, so I'm in the middle of doing that, and I'm doing this, and I'm all out of the shop. So I'm just
Well,
on another planet
I'd help
today,
you out,
man.
Davey, but after me third triple platinum album, I decided to give up on music and concentrate on all the pies instead. So no, that's good. Well,
it's coming out on April the 1st. That's no coincidence whatsoever. But anyway, there you go.
there you go. Clever marketing strategy that was, wasn't it? That's what that was. Well, Davey, we're going to have a little look forward to the game on Saturday. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff in St James's Park, and we're playing Bournemouth, who we've got a bit of a mixed record against. Now,
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like that long ago that we had the beginning, the first fixture in this, which was down at Bournemouth, which was a long way to travel for not much reward. We got beat 2-0 in the last game. It was a brace by Dominic Solanke.
yeah.
Did you got many memories of that game? Were you there? Did you have any
I
feelings from that
wasn't.
one?
I wasn't there. It's one of those where, for me, in terms of traveling, unless somebody pays for us to fly down, it's one of those that I'm going to really struggle getting to and getting back. The one thing I remember about it was we had no strikers, and I think Gordon was playing up front.
He was, yeah.
And was it Miley's first start or one of his first starts? It was.
Pass. It was one of, if not the first, one of the first.
Yeah, and Hall was playing, and Willock was playing, but Bruno wasn't playing. Was Bruno suspended?
Suspended, wasn't it? That's when he got his fifth yellow card the game before that, and
That's right.
sits on 9 now.
Yeah, which is why obviously Miley was playing in the middle, but Willock was playing. Remember him?
Aye, he used to play for Newcastle, didn't he?
Aye. We could do with him at the minute, but from what I remember vaguely, because you know me, basically once the game's finished and we've talked about it, that's it. It's gone for me, and I would kind of move on. And my memory's just shocking, but it's how I need to live my life, is just move on.
But I remember Solanke was a thorn in the side pretty much the whole game, wasn't he? I mean, he got the first goal, which was it was a question on whether the keeper could have possibly done better. He did get to it, but I think the fact that he was dropping at the time,
wasn't it a deflection? Wasn't it? Did it not hit Willock?
Deflection, yeah, and but they had been knocking on the door for quite a while. We never really got into the game. And the second goal, which was also Solanke, was just a bit of a scramble in the box from a corner, wasn't it? And they did go to VAR, if I remember rightly, for a possible handball. And it wouldn't have mattered anyways. It wouldn't have mattered anyways because we were never scoring in that game.
Yeah.
But like you rightly said, we were struggling a bit more.
You could have said anything, and I would have just went, "Oh, aye." We brought Miley Cyrus on at half time. I remember, wasn't that? Was it that one?
Was that for the halftime show? Was it?
No, she was up front, wasn't she? Did she replace Gordon at half time? I honestly can't. I'm shocking, man. I terribly remember it. Why her name popped into my head, I have no idea.
Miley Cyrus, a bit of a
because I was thinking of Miley. Miley, that's probably why. Miley, that's why that came into my head.
I'll take your word for it, Davey. But that started for them what was a really good run of form for Bournemouth. They had an absolutely fantastic Christmas period. So they beat us 2-0. They went on to beat Sheffield United 3-1. Drew 2-2 at Aston Villa. They beat Crystal Palace 2-0. They beat Manchester United 3-0. They beat Nottingham Forest 3-2.
Yeah.
They beat Fulham 3-0. And then after that, I mean, what a run of form that is, by the way. That really helped their season, because I thought they were going to be in and around that area and possibly one of the teams to go down until they had that run, which was great.
Then, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But then sort of moving into January, I mean, you know, it got beat 3-1 off Tottenham, 4-0 off Liverpool. They drew 1-1 with West Ham, 1-1 with Forest. They've just getting beat 3-1 at the weekend from Fulham. It looks as though that was a bit of a purple patch, and now it is a bit of a better time to play them. I mean, what sort of looking at the game on paper and taking into that bit of form that I've just talked to you about there, what's your initial feelings going into the game?
Well, I mean, the losses that you mentioned, you would expect them to lose against those teams, and West Ham haven't been great. So getting a point against West Ham, they've been up and down. That's probably a decent result. Forest are a good side. We saw that the other day. Yeah. So getting a draw against them isn't so bad. I think the results that they've got are probably where they are, you know. Now, I've had a look at a few things that their fans and writers have been saying about them, and you know, that defense looks a little bit suspect and whatever. But they've got the other thing that I saw. They've obviously got Solanke. He's their main player, and I think Christie is the one that kind of makes them tick. He, if you look at all of the like marks out of 10 on likes of, you know, various sites, he's the one that's consistently up there. But he had a knock apparently before the game at the weekend, and I read that he wasn't fully fit, but he's still got man of the match for them. So, you know, he's a decent player. He's a really good midfielder. You know, people have been saying that Neto's probably not the one that they want in goal, but that
his distribution's not the best.
He was at fault for one of the goals at the weekend,
trying to knock it out of play, and I think Kelly had similar sort of problems at left back. I think he was playing.
Yeah,
but I mean, from the game at the weekend when they played Fulham, I think one of the big standards out was is it Alan Scott, who they got in. Played in the number 10 role instead of Kluivert, which raised a few eyebrows. And I think it was probably one of those, because from what I read, I think Bournemouth will probably be knocking on the door for Scott to be getting some game time in that number 10 role, but didn't really go to plan. And I think by the end of the game, I think a lot of the fans were probably knocking on the door for Kluivert to come back into a sort of number 10 role. Well, so out of them two, which one are you wanting to see on the team sheet?
Well,
probably in a more selfish reason.
I had a read about that because I saw there was an article about their number 10 role, and the consensus seems to be that they've not really got anybody who's cemented themselves into that position. And they've had Kluivert who's done it, and apparently they weren't happy with him. Scott's had a little bit of a go. Billen's been in that role. I think he was in that role when they were going through that purple patch. Him playing sort of behind and a lot deeper with Solanke, but making those runs forward. He's a dangerous player. He's always done well against us, even when he was at Huddersfield. And Christie's even played in the number 10 role. And they also had Brooks when he came back. He played in the number 10 role, but he's on loan now at Southampton, which is a strange one. I don't know why they put him on loan, because he's a decent player. So I don't know what's going on in the background there. And they've had the last game they had Semenyo playing there as well. I think, or did he come into? Did the fella that you mentioned, Scott, start there, and then
he started there? Yeah,
Semenyo came into that role. So I've looked at that, and I've looked at the different ones, and I kind of thought, will they start with Semenyo in that role? That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. It could be Scott. It could be Semenyo. But I've done a team, and I've plumped for Semenyo, but I literally haven't got a clue. But it doesn't look like they've got a clue.
It is
there, you know.
There is a bit of that. Another player is Sinistera. Didn't they get him in on loan from Leeds United? Is it
Yeah,
the
but
left winger?
he's more of a winger, isn't he? But
He's a
he's
winger.
been
Yeah.
blown hot and cold as well. Which
Just about to say that, it's if it was there's part of his wishes he played on the right hand side, so because
yeah,
that would be the type of player I would like to see Burn up against, because
yeah,
I don't think he's electric with his pace. I mean, he's not slowest neither, but he's not electric with his pace. But he does predominantly play on the left hand side, and like you say, he very much blows hot and cold.
yeah,
Now, I think it was only a season-long loan they got him on from Leeds United, obviously, given the relegation of Leeds United and then wanting
yeah,
to come
yeah, yeah.
straight back up. It's probably a player they would want back at the end of the season. But yeah, I think the main danger man that we have to look out for, especially given the brace in the game previous, has to be Dominic Solanke. What would be your plan against a really hot striker like that?
Solanke's one of these that he's difficult to play against because he holds the ball up well and he brings other people in. But when they play the ball in behind for him to run onto, he's quick, he's strong, he can shoot from outside the box. He's decent in the air. He's a poacher as well. He can get poaching goals. I think for me the key is to stop likes of Christie getting the ball and playing the through balls for him to run onto. And that's where our kind of our press in the midfield against those to make it difficult for those players. I think rather than pressing really high, like we normally like to do, which we probably still will do, I would prefer maybe the whoever we play in the front three to do that, but for the midfield to concentrate and try and think, hang on, if they play through us or over our press, then if Christie gets on the ball, he's going to look for Solanke, and Solanke will be making diagonal runs. And you just have to look at the game on Saturday, where Forest had a number of chances getting in behind in that way, and the scored as well, the first goal. So that's the slight worry. But I think I've got a feeling that they'll try and use Tavernier rather on the right side, and whoever they play in number 10 might drop deeper, so that they've got like a 3 in midfield rather than playing the 4-2-3-1 as a really like kind of set structure. I think if it's Semenyo, he might drop a bit deeper. He might have to, especially if we have lots of possession. It's one of those. I think you've got to, for Solanke, you've got to stop the balls getting to him. But they will.
Yeah,
I think they will literally
100%.
just play it over the top. I think that's what
Yeah.
they'll try and do. And if we play a high line, then it plays into that for them. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's difficult.
and
It's
I think what
difficult
you're
one.
saying about Christie's definitely correct, because he's the man that can really bring it all together for them. However, if I'm being honest, I think going into the game, we'll mention Solanke because you have to mention it. I think we'll be really looking to take the game by the scruff of the neck on this one, and really put our footprint
I
on the
think we'll
game at a
go
very
for it.
early stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Especially, given the reverse fixture being 2-0, they'll be looking for a bit of revenge. It's 3 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon in St James's Park. It really is a game that we should be looking to win. But let's have a little look at the injuries. So, I mean, they're not without their injuries as well. They've got some decent players that are out. None more than who you mentioned before, Billen.
He's suspended, yeah, because he
suspended.
got sent
He's
off, yeah.
got a red card, so he's suspended. Tyler Adams, he's still out with a thigh injury. He's not going to be back until March, it looks like. James Hill, he's another one out of March. Ryan Fredericks and Maximilian Aarons also out. Well, Aarons is being assessed, but by all accounts, doesn't look very good. Looks like he could have a lengthy injury.
Well, I'm gonna throw another one in there. I don't know what happened, but Kelly, who's been linked with us, their left back, he's like a left back and he can play centre half as well. And he looks a decent player. And if he's available on a free, I would bring him in. in the summer. But anyway, he came off at half time against Fulham, and I don't think he would bring him off tactically. So he might have a knock. I don't know. So
Possibly. By all accounts, he wasn't having his best game against Fulham.
right.
I think Willian was getting a lot of joy against him. So whether it was tactical or not, I guess we'll find out, because
Oh,
if
well,
he is available, I would
yeah.
imagine he'd be starting if he is available.
Well, I take back what I said. If he was rubbish, like, we don't want him.
I'm not saying he was rubbish. He was just having a. I mean, you know, some of your best players is going to struggle against Willian when he's in form. Fantastic player, but yeah, he was run rings around him a bit. In terms of our injuries, I mean, injuries, suspensions, whatever. It's still looking long, isn't it? So just to run through them again. Obviously, Sandro Tonali, we all know the situation with him.
Yeah.
Joe Linton, he's still out of his injury. Probably not going to see him for the rest of the season. And just, by the way, Newcastle, get his contract sorted there, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dan Ashworth, not giving the. He's going to take him to Man U, isn't he? Little rat. Nick Pope, we hope that Nick Pope will probably be back next month. Matt Target, I hate to say it, it seems to be on a sick note, doesn't he? He seems to be constantly injured. Elliot Anderson, we hope to see him by the end of the month, hopefully. But still,
I read that he might be in the squad this weekend.
Be in the squad. Yeah. I hope so, because it would be great to see him back in the team, in and around there, so we can really start getting a bit of rotation and give him more options in that midfield area. Not that there's anything wrong with the midfield that it is at the moment, but the more players you've got contested for positions, it creates a good feeling of competition within the players, which is always good. Mr. Joseph Willock, you mentioned earlier on, seems to be getting closer, but isn't going to be ready for this game.
Yeah.
We all know Alexander Isak is still out, and again, hopefully by the end of the month he'll be back in. And apparently, I heard little rumours that there might be a little knock on Callum Wilson.
Callum Wilson, I don't think he's going to be playing. He got a when I was at the match at Forest, he was complaining to the ref in the second half, and he got barged out. He had the ball, and two of them came into him, and I didn't say exactly what happened, but he wasn't happy, and he was holding his side, and I think he's apparently got a pectoral muscle problem, and they've said that he's going to miss this weekend, but he should be okay, hopefully, for the next game after that. So this has obviously, affected us. And I mean, I mentioned before, when we played against Bournemouth down there, Gordon played up front, and I think he might end up finding himself playing up front again.
I think you're right. So, which probably means I'm gonna have to readjust me predicted lineup. But well, I'll do it on the hop. That's fine. And yeah, Jacob Murphy's another one.
I've got mine. I've got mine done. It's already written down.
Yours is written down. Is it? I'm doing mine on the hop, man. I like to improvise me. And Jacob Murphy, he's another one that's about 50-50 as well. So,
well, I mentioned it in the last podcast. I said that I was surprised that he didn't bring Murphy on to replace Wilson at the end, so he could run and whatever. But I didn't realize that he'd actually pulled up with a calf strain during the warm up. So I didn't know. All I saw was he was on the bench, and that was it. And thinking, why the hell aren't they bringing him on? But obviously that's why they didn't.
I feel bad for him. He just seems to get getting knock after knock after knock, and he's another one who's one of my favourites, just for his banter more than anything else. He's a great player, but I just think the attitude he brings to the game is a breath of fresh air, and he's definitely a fan favourite.
Yeah,
and he can be a dangerous player. So again, a list of missing players, the length of your arm. What is the positive from that is a lot of the players that I've mentioned there are close. They are close again.
Yeah.
And it's going to be exciting once we start getting a lot of these players back, and with depth is suddenly going to go from 0 to not quite 100 to about 60, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's going to be exciting once those players do come back.
I don't like thinking ahead too much, but I went to the local pool yesterday, and I was talking to one of the lads in there, and we were talking about the FA Cup. And I was saying some of the players that are coming back, if they're coming back and that, and you know, and they find some form very quickly. If we get past Blackburn, then you're looking at one more win, and we're at Wembley. And we're saying, like, obviously, you know, if we get a home draw, hopefully not against Liverpool or Man City or someone like that, but if we've got players back, then you're looking at a decent run there. But that's as much as I want to say on it, because I don't want to look too far ahead. But just with you saying that players coming back the back end of this month and beginning of next month, then hopefully that might be the case, you know. So
fingers crossed, Davy, because I felt like we should have been in a final of that cup. You know, we were unlucky. We're not good on too much, but the Trippier mistake was an arrow to the heart, because we were home and dry in that game. And I think
yeah, I
if
know.
karma is correct, we will get that run in the cup, and
Yeah.
hopefully be back at Wembley.
We'll see what happens.
So
But
yeah,
yeah,
well, let's have a little chat about the lineups then. So obviously we've talked about injuries for both teams. Yes, there you go. You see the wheels going for it. Hey, I tell you what, we'll be presenting soon. Yeah, let's start with Bournemouth then, and let's see what you've got down as a predicted lineup for them.
well, they've got 5 keepers apparently in their squad, but I still think they'll stick with Neto. I don't think they'll drop him. So I'm going with him. And then I've put Kelly in there, but I think he'll play him. And then the others have been playing for a while. There's Smith at right back, and Zabonyi, I think he's called, and Senesi.
Messy, yeah.
I think they're quite settled, and you know, it's one of those where I think they do okay. You know, they're not world class defenders, but they seem to do okay in the battle in the way that they do. Do you want me to go through my whole team, or are you doing your?
So far you've got exactly the same as me. I think we're gonna have similar ones. Well,
and then Christian Cook I've put in the middle too. I'm assuming they will play the 4-2-3-1, and that formation seems to do well against us, especially when players get in between the lines, you know. And I've actually gone for Semenyo in the number 10 role with Tavernier on one side, and I put Sinistera in, and I've crossed him out, and I've put Unal in instead.
Right.
I've just got a feeling they might try him, but who knows? And then Solanke up front. That's what I've gone for.
I went slightly different. So I've got Cook and Christie as well, but I've actually went Tavernier, Sinistera, and
Scott.
No. Who got dropped? Kluivert. I've went Kluivert.
Right.
I went Kluivert as well with Solanke up top, but that was just basically based on the fact that I don't think it really went well for Scott at the weekend. I could be wrong. We could end up seeing Scott on there.
Yeah.
But either one of those two teams, I think we'll look at that and say, well, yeah, if we feel the team that I'm now going to put out should be enough to beat that. So let's see where you've went. And I would imagine, again, will probably be very similar.
More or less the same, I think. I've gone Dubravka, Trippier, Shea, Botman, and Byrne. I think you'll still play Byrne, and I like Byrne. And I think if we, like we've said, if you know that you're coming up against an unbelievably fast winger, then you maybe need to think about putting Livramento in at the moment. But I think he'll play Byrne. And then he made a brilliant interception and clearance at the end of the game the other day so we ended up coming away with 3 points.
Well, David, we said the other day, horses for courses, and we said
exactly
the other day it wasn't the course from, whereas this possibly is, and I've also went with the exact same back.
Yeah, and I've gone with the same midfield. I've gone with Bruno in the middle as usual. Longstaff, I think, on the right-hand side and Miley on the left. I think they work better on those sides. Miley's more of two-footed player. Longstaff, when he's on the left, he struggles to turn a little bit. I think he's better on the right. But with who we've got available, that's who I've gone for in the middle. And then up front, I've already mentioned, I think he'll play Gordon up front because we've got neither of the two strikers available as far as we know. And then I think he's because Murphy could be okay to be in the squad. I don't think he'll start him, and I think he'll go with Almiron. And I think Barnes will get a start with Gordon having to play in the middle.
Yeah, so I mean, originally I had because I wasn't even aware of the knock on Callum Wilson. So in the original team, I did have Callum Wilson with actually Harvey, with actually Harvey Barnes on the left, in Gordon on the right. Having seen that there is a possible injury, I've went for exactly the same as you. So the same middle three.
I did think the same as you before I heard about Wilson. I did think he might go with those and possibly drop Almiron. I think Almiron the other day, he was a little bit out of sorts, and I think he'd been told to cut inside more, and it just didn't work. So I don't know, but I think that's where he'll play. We haven't got many options because we've got so many players out,
And then, like I said before, and it's quite frustrating because there's so many on the brink as well. It's like,
I know
it's one of them where at least we're not now playing midweek games, so not getting that third place. As much as I'd rather have had the third place in the Champions League, I had a bit European football. Had we been playing today,
exactly.
chances are the game would have been moved to the Sunday. But that means,
or playing
the injuries that we've got and stuff, it would have been back to where we were earlier in the season, where we were limping through games and the end of games. At least now we've got a full week in between the games where you can get them on the training pitch, get them really well drilled. And for that reason, that's why actually, no, let's do it properly. All right. I'm going to bring him in because we've got to do it all earlier on. Right. So now
you forgot. I knew there was something missing.
We've got with score predictions, haven't we? Are you ready for the score predictions?
I am.
Are you sure you're ready?
I'm definitely ready.
Are you fucking ready?
Okay, let's go.
You need to sack that lad and admin for not putting him on earlier.
Just while we got him on though, 10 years bad luck if he doesn't put it on. So yeah, score predictions, Davy. I'll let you go first. What you're thinking in terms of score?
I think it's going to be close, to be honest. I think this. I would like to hope and think that we could go out and score 3 goals in the first 20 minutes and be out of sight. But even though we could score 3 goals in the first 20 minutes, I don't think we'll still be out of sight. I'm going to go for 6-5 to us. I am because their defense is poor. Their defense is poor, and I think our pace up front with the players that we've mentioned, there's goals in everybody, and we've got he might put Shea up front. He might put him up front. You never know. He might play Lascelles and put Shea up front.
So you expect we're being first on match of the day then?
I think it's going
game
to be
of the season.
It's going to be a daft score because I think they've got goals in them as well. But I think, hopefully I'm wrong on that score. But 6-5 I'm going for.
6-5.
I'm going to put £2
we'll go then. Yeah, we're going. Who's your scorers? You've got to go for your scorers now.
Who's not me scorers? Dubravka's not me scorer. I'm not having him as a scorer. Botman, I'm not having him as a scorer. I don't, although he scored 2 at the weekend, I don't think Bruno will score. I'm going to go for Miley, Shea, 2 for Gordon, 1 for Barnes, and 1 for Almiron.
Aye, and 4 for Solanke.
Probably, although then who's going to get their 5th? Yeah. Possibly Tavernier for them as well. Solanke and Tavernier. That's my goal scorer.
Well, I'm going to go for a bit more of a realistic score. I'm going to go 6-4. No, I've had to rethink it as well. Like obviously the exclusion of Callum Wilson, it's just scuppered all of my plannings that I had for this video basically. So I've had to think on the hop. So I'm going to go for 3-1, and we're finding it really difficult to keep a clean sheet at the moment.
Yeah.
We
Great if we could. Be great
yeah,
if
I'd
we
love with
could.
to. I'd absolutely love with to, because that would give the defense a lot of confidence. But with Solanke and Christie and the others being on the pitch, I'm not quite sure if we will keep a clean sheet. I hope that we do. But having said that, I've got a feeling we're going to win by more than one goal. I don't think it's going to be a one where we're sitting nipping with bum cheeks on the 90th minute.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm going 3-1. Scorers, I'm going to go for a brace for Gordon, one for Harvey Barnes, and Solanke for them.
Yeah.
So that's our predictions. Now, before we finish off, it's a bit of a quicker video. This is what we're going to try and do now. So we're going to try and make our videos a little bit more
Slicker,
easier to digest. And but I do want to talk about a little bit of other news. I kind of mentioned it during the video. You've probably heard that Man U are coming in for Dan Ashworth. Now, what's your take on that? Are you bothered? Are you,
I am bothered because his record at other clubs has been excellent. He's been here for a while. I mean, there's the only one that I can see there he's really brought in that looks excellent is Mente, but there's other young lads that are being brought in that we haven't seen yet that could turn out to be, really good. It's not signed and sealed by all accounts, but it's just this.
He looks very open to it. Well, I mean, do you know what it is? I'll give it a little two-penny here as well. Like, if you lose your director of football, it's not ideal. It's not the end of the world. And from what I've read, he's got a release clause. Mad. Yeah. They would have to pay 25 million in compensation, a bit of gardening leave for him. Now,
I read that they've got to pay 6. So
6. I read 25.
Yeah. You just don't know. People just make it up, man.
They do. But I mean, what if he's saying that he's being approached, he hasn't shut it down. Like, I mean, we tempted him easily away from Bournemouth from Brighton. All of a sudden, he's getting tempted away from us. Like,
do I
see the word loyalty? Do I see the word loyalty? Is it? I mean, he knows we're no loyalty. He knows we're no loyalty. You know what I mean? You've got to do what you've got to do. But if this is going to keep happening all the time, with your director of football, it does kind of like, conspiracy theory 101. Like, well, if he's half got his eye on Manchester United, is he going to keep players that he had in mind back for that? Is he like, if he's lining up with young kids somewhere, is he going, well, actually, why am I going to get them in for this team? And all of a sudden I'm going to be waiting for the other team soon.
Exactly.
And when these questions start to arise, I think yourself sometimes, well, if the writing's on the wall, so be it. Let's get it done. And if it is 20 million, that'll come in very handy. Thank you very much.
The thing that really annoys me is the fact that this takeover, it's not a takeover, it's a buy-in. Ineos have basically Ratcliffe has put over £1 billion in to Man United by buying a quarter of the shares or whatever. So straight away, I mean, I was reading the other day that their buying power is ridiculous, and their squad at the moment is the richest squad. It's worth more than Real Madrid's squad. It's like over £1.2 billion, which is ridiculous. And then you've got Ineos have basically come into that, and then they're looking to bring in a new director of football and poach our director of football when they've got money to be able to go out and buy the players that we dreamt of, when our takeover happened. And because of this whole FFP farce, which is good in some respects, but it's not good in others, because it's not just about whether we can like join in. It stops teams in lower leagues from being able to grow and build as well, and it just stinks. It's the whole cartel thing. It just absolutely stinks. And the fact that you're reading now, Man United have got this massive injection of cash on top of what they've got already. And you just think, how are we going to compete with that? We've got more money behind us than them,
do you know what?
but
Do you
we
know what?
can't
I don't
spend it.
understand. Like, Radcliffe's giving them an injection of cash. What is that? Just a donation? Like, what do you mean? Like,
He's bought the
doesn't
shares. He's
make
bought.
any sense to us because yeah. So it's floating on the stock market. I get that, right? And you've got shares in it now, but. So
Yeah,
surely
I
anybody
think.
can do that. Like surely
Yeah,
the Saudis could get somebody to go. Oh, actually, do you know what? Is this guy's going to get in and he's going to inject £2 billion
yeah.
into
I
it?
think the
And
difference is what people have said in Man United for a long time now is that, like, the club's worth this amount of money, but they haven't put as much money into like buying players and things like that as they would like them to have done, despite having the richest side
yeah, that's what I was
in
about
the
to say.
world,
Like,
right? But the point is because they're taking money out the way that like the Fletcher and Hall and people like that did with us, where they are taking their dividend out every year, and people are unhappy about that and saying that they should be putting that straight back in to buy players. What Ratcliffe has said apparently is that he's bought into the club, but he's putting extra money on top of that billion plus. He's putting extra money into it that is basically going to be, for players, or that money that's paid
how's he
for
allowed to
those
do it?
shares
I don't understand how he's allowed to do that
because
because
they are the biggest club in the world in terms of revenue. In terms of revenue, if you're looking at percentage of revenue, they are the biggest club in the world. They're bigger than Real Madrid.
so
So
yeah, but if they take the
they
money
can.
out in dividends, right? They take the money out in dividends, right? But surely that comes out of what's made. So you're still making the same amount of money. What I'm saying is, well, where's it? How can you just suddenly inject £1 billion? Like it doesn't make any sense to us. So whatever their revenue is the same, right? And let's say what like. They can afford to lose 105 million. So yeah, that just gives them extra money for players. We can't just inject £1 billion. Oh, well, there's an extra billion on top, though.
I think the difference is because, like, say for example, we are because of the fact that Mike Ashley. I mean, I'm no expert in this. I haven't really got much of a
Me
clue.
neither.
But the way that I see it is, we can't make a loss of it's the 105 million or whatever over 3 years. We've spent a lot of money, but there's a loss in there because of the fact that we haven't got that percentage of revenue that we are allowed to spend. It's the equation that comes into that, which that allows likes of Tottenham and Man City and Chelsea and all of these others to spend more money, because in terms of revenue, like historical revenue, where we had very little, because it was the club was run on a shoestring basically. So, for example, we got the Adidas money coming in, so that is added to our revenue on top of the Champions League money, on top of what we get for where we finished in the Premier League last season, and then but it's a rolling 3-year thing. But we aren't allowed to spend it at this loss. The difference is that they have a massive revenue stream, which is far higher than anybody else. It's much
Yeah.
higher than ours. So they are allowed to spend that percentage of their revenue, which is far higher. But the difference is I think this is the difference. The owners weren't putting that money in. Yes, they could spend that, but they're saying that they weren't putting that money in. Why aren't we spending right up to? This is what Man United fans who suddenly wear Norwich scarves and stuff when they're losing, wherever they drag them out. This is what they're saying. They want that percentage of money spent. They've got the money there, but they're not spending it. They're taking it out. But
I don't know which team they're looking at when they say not spending. I mean, how much do they spend on Anthony? How much do they spend on so many players? I mean, it's rare they sign a player for less than 50,
and
60 million, isn't it?
So this amount of money,
dry tears from me.
I know this amount of money, the 1.2 billion, doesn't include the players that they brought in last summer. and they spent about 140 million on players last summer as well.
It's
So
crazy.
you can add that to it, you know.
And do
But
you
I
know what?
did,
Something needs to happen. I wasn't expecting to get into this conversation, but I'll say
yeah,
what I think about it anyways. But FFP, like, it's only a matter of time, right? And I get what's happening, right? And I understand the arguments. It's to stop teams from going into too much debt and liquidizing, and then all of a sudden an owner sells up, leaves the club absolutely stranded. But come on, right? It's going to get to a stage now where um, it's going to start affecting the brand of the Premier League
of
and
course it
what
is.
that brings, because players will go elsewhere. They'll go to places like Saudi Arabia. So what it's done effectively is the top 6 clubs have been able to pull the ladder up behind them. So they've said,
Yeah,
right, okay, now you've brought this in, but we're now in a position where it doesn't really quite matter because we've already got a nucleus of players worth about £1 billion. So if we
yeah,
sell them, we've still got £1 billion to spend. All it does
yeah.
is stops the other teams from coming up. Now I get it, right? If you're getting a takeover and you start spending like a man with no hands, you just spend left, right, and centre. I do see the dangers in that, depending on how much your owners are worth. Now I'm looking at this biasly because we've got the richest owners in the world. We know that.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean that
yeah.
we've got the richest club in the world, but our owners aren't going to run out of money anytime soon.
That's
So
what's wrong.
why don't they say something like, right, okay, well, if you're going to take over a club, right, and you're gonna spend like a madman, right? You need to put some money aside and say, right, that is there as a security. So if we ever go, you've got £1 billion there for the running of the club, and that club's never going to go into liquidation because
I
come
mean,
4 or 5 years down the line, they'll not be at the same position they were financially, but they'll certainly not be in liquidation neither, because it's holding it back. And what's going to happen is, right, you've got about 5 or 6 teams who can go out and sign those players, right? Now you can only get so many. Look at Chelsea; they're signing all of these players,
oh
right?
no,
And some of them can't get a game because nobody else can afford to sign them. That's why they can afford
I
it, but they're
know.
not allowed to sign them under FFP. So the players that are in and around, so we're wanting to look. Let's say, for example, you want to try sign an Osimhen. There's only about 3 or 4 clubs that can
Yeah, I know.
afford that,
I
and we are
know.
one of them. But we can't
We are
afford it.
not allowed to
We're not
spend that
allowed to.
money.
So where's he going
I
to go?
know.
He's going to go to somewhere where there's no financial regulations. So the brand of the Premier League, all of a sudden, people are going to start watching other leagues because they want to see those players.
Yeah, I know. I
They
know.
want to see
I
those
know.
players playing, and we're saying to our clubs, well, yeah, we want you to be in the Premier League. We want it to be the most exciting brand, but we're not. We're going to clip your wings a bit and not let you sign the players that neutrals want to see playing week in, week out.
This ties back in though with the Dan Ashworth thing, and it's why I'm annoyed about it because of the fact that we're not allowed to spend. We need somebody like him working to the top end of their ability and bringing players through that are going to be top players in 2-3
And I
years
think you
time.
should have that in a club, irrelevant of FFP,
Of course, yeah.
whether it was
But the
whether
fact
it
that
was allowed or not.
Man United, who can spend that money, are looking to bring in a guy to do that as well, to stop other teams buying the best players, the young players around the world, where they'll be able to go to some club in Brazil and there's this 15, 16-year-old and they can say, oh, well, there's 20 million. We won't be able to do that.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? But
It needs a reshuffle because
of
it's
course
not
it
doing
does.
what it was set out to do. It was set out to for a completely different reason to what it's doing now. So its use at the moment is protecting a group
The
of
top
clubs,
six, I know.
and
I
that's
know.
not what it was there. It was there to
Exactly.
stop clubs from going into administration. Well, yes, the clubs aren't going into administration, but it's not one shoe fits all. It really
Yeah.
isn't one shoe fits all. And now it's serving a completely different agenda, and that's why it needs to be looked at again.
Yeah.
But look, there's an extra bit of conversation for you that we weren't expecting to get into on a what is a Bournemouth preview. Sorry, Bournemouth fans,
Yeah.
the one that might be watching, because we're a new channel. But if you are watching, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, leave a comment. But look at up and above that, getting back to what we were saying, we're both expecting a win on Saturday against Bournemouth,
Hopefully, yeah.
which will do us really well in the league table, because we're not too far away from that sixth spot now. So that's definitely achievable. But we will definitely be back after the Bournemouth game
People
to
need
have
to do that predictions as well. Tell them
Aye.
about that
Yeah,
prediction.
put your predictions down there. We still haven't had a correct prediction, so we want your scoreline and your scorers. Whoever gets it spot on,
Well, I'm definitely winning
getting
this
the
week.
prize.
I'm definitely winning this week.
Davy's got it locked down. He's went for an easy score though, so he's went for an easy one. But yeah, it'll be great to see you on the next one where we'll be doing a preview, and hopefully we'll be back with smiles on our faces talking about a Newcastle victory. But until then, come on.
Oh yeah.